welcome to episode 20 of On the Bench. If you build aircraft, ships, armour, automotive, science fiction, figures, or space, this is the podcast for you. In this episode of On the Bench, I'm going to be joined by Ian and Julian. We're going to be having a look at what's new in the modelling world. Later on in the program, we're going to be joined by a special guest, Hamish, who'll be talking about civil airliners and how to build them. On the Bench is available on iTunes, and now we're also available on Stitcher. So go right ahead to your favourite podcast app and mark us down as your favourite so you don't miss any episodes. Episode 20. Hello everyone. I'm Dave and we've got Ian.
Hi everyone.
And Julian.
Hi.
Episode 20, guys.
Yeah. Getting there.
I didn't think they would get this far at all. Just goes to show you, doesn't it? And we still haven't even touched the bottom of the barrel in regards to stuff to talk about yet.
Exactly. There's just so much to talk about.
I know. So very happy with that. So what have you guys been up to?
Oh, I've got my Pete, my little Japanese float plane in the mail.
Oh, very nice.
Always
and
good to get a new purchase.
Made by and what scale?
It's a Hasegawa.
Yeah.
148 scale.
Excellent. And you're going to be building in what scheme?
Ooh, I haven't really looked at it yet. I only just sort of opened it up, looked at the box, admired the plastic, closed it back up again, and thought I got way too much stuff to can't afford to start it yet.
Just revelled in that new kit smell.
Yeah. I didn't. I normally break the bags open straight away, but I'll leave it in there for now.
What about you, Ian? What are you up to?
Oh, not a great deal. Still plodding along with the Model T.
Yeah.
Picked up a...
How did you go fixing up that issue with the wood grain?
Yes, done.
What did you do?
Just redid it and it was a bit more careful. Didn't put as much of the top coat on it this time.
Yep.
So it was a lot thinner.
So you're happy? You're happy now with
looks a lot better.
that AK stuff?
Yep.
Yep.
I think I've nutted it out now.
Yeah, it's a really good product.
Good to hear.
Yeah, so I picked up I think it's Accurate Miniatures or Classic Airframes, one of the two, the CA13 Boomerang.
Oh, very
48
nice.
scale. So,
I wouldn't mind building one of those.
yeah, it's a very complicated kit.
Oh.
Lots of resin and photo etch.
You're already putting me off it.
And no locating pins.
Oh,
Deal breaker.
No.
Yeah, so it's like a garage kit.
Yeah, I'm with you, Julian. Deal breaker.
Nah.
No, I'm not that attached to them, but it is nice. I mean, with Accurate Miniatures, you would expect them to have that.
Yeah, I don't think it's
so.
Accurate Miniatures. I think it's Classic Airframes.
Oh, wait, isn't it
Or
Special Hobby?
Special Hobby. That's it. Special Hobby, yes. Special Hobby, sorry.
Okay, yeah. I've got like a Zur kit, which I think is very, 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 very similar.
Yeah.
Like sort of like sister company kind of thing.
Yeah, I had a Zur kit once, but I gave it away. Or some weird French aircraft.
That's what I've got. I've got a weird French aircraft.
Unless it was one I gave away.
Well, I finally found where to get some Loctite 406.
Okay.
Lucky you.
So I ended up getting 2 bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not being paid to sort of rave about it, I absolutely love Loctite 406. It's sort of got a viscosity that's somewhere between Tamiya Extra Thin and Revell polystyrene glue.
Oh, the conductor.
Yeah. That's it. And except, okay, here we go. This is what I did wrong.
You glued your fingers together, didn't you?
Well, normally when you get super glue, you take the top off and you get make a hole with a pin or something to get the glue out. So I took the top off and I tipped the bottle sideways.
I can see where this is going.
And it came straight out. It went all over my fingers, over my right hand. And I'm looking at it. So I got my whole hand covered in super glue. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? So
Don't go to the toilet.
So I thought quickly, shoved the hand under a cold tap of water because water makes it set instantly. It's like an activator or something. And then just spent the next 4 hours just peeling super glue off my fingers. Oh,
Way to go, Dave.
Yeah.
I'll give you something to do when you're bored at work.
Well, it wasn't at work, it was at home. But I'll put it in the fridge this time, so hopefully now it
That's
won't.
where I store mine.
Yeah, I'll just hopefully nobody goes to the fridge and goes, oh, I wonder what this condiment is. That's all I've done actually this week. Yeah, well, since the last episode. I'm still hunting for the sprue cutters that I'm after, and I just cannot find them anywhere.
Yeah, a friend of mine got a new set, actually from the company that actually makes the Meng ones.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. D begins with the letter D. And I had a go at them last night, and it's like cutting butter.
Yeah.
They just are just so smooth, and like one edge is flat.
Yep.
So you just get this nice straight cut.
I know the company you're talking about. I forgot what their name is, and I'm
They've
not
recently
sure.
just bought out a new drill bit. Little drill.
Drilly thing, yeah.
Yeah.
They're not very small, tiny drill bits though, so I'm not that interested
No,
in
they
them.
got big shanks on them.
What I want is the circle cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
Oh,
wants the
actually,
circle
I
cutter.
think that we might even have something to look at later online
Yeah,
about that. So
yeah, the
that's,
circle.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But are they the same sprue cutters though that Meng produce?
Correct.
They are they?
Yep. The Meng ones are just rebadged.
Because I can't find the Meng ones anywhere, so I might have to look.
And
at
these
that.
ones are about $45 around that Australian.
I think you can get them on Hobby Easy.
Yeah.
But you can't get the circle cutter because I checked. It's sold out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have bought it.
That.
See, this is what we're doing wrong. We're actually got a podcast and we're telling everybody these great things. And everyone's
And
just
they're
going and
going out
buying
and
them before we get a chance to.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're really desperate to get it, there are people who sell them on eBay, but they really inflate the price.
Oh,
Like the circle cutter, it's like it's something like something like $30 or maybe. I'm guessing $30. It's not going to be as expensive as whoever's reselling it on eBay, but they're selling it for like $95 in American.
I haven't used Evil Bay for about 5 years now. I don't miss it.
I just get my pipettes.
Yeah. Now, before we started the show, you were talking about a new ink thing. That,
I don't know the brand of it. I think it's coming out in a few months' time. It's only for water-based paints at the moment. But basically, it's just this box, and it's like an automatic, creates your own colours. You just scan a colour with your mobile phone, and then you download that to this machine, and it knocks out the colour for you.
In your own home?
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome.
So I think about 5-10 years time, or probably 5 years time, you'll be able to do that. They'll have that for models.
Well, hopefully even less, because, I mean, it's not much of a step up from watercolours or acrylics.
No.
Because you think about it, all you need is white, black, and your primary colours.
Yep.
And that's it.
Probably a couple of tones and a metallic if you want to do metallics.
Yeah, but I don't think even need tones, because the way you sort of put the... I mean, if you ever gone to a hardware store and with a FS number and said, here, I want this paint.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I do, just use primary colours and
Correct.
bang it in white paint and shake it up, and there you go.
Yep.
Bob's your uncle. To have that in your own home and just take a photo of, a colour swatch or something like that, or even off the computer screen or a book, and bingo, you've got the colour straight away.
Yeah. And if the paint companies like Tamiya and Guns or Humbrol and that get in the act, all you do then is you just pay for the code,
primary colours, or the
pay
code.
for the code,
and
then then you have that already in your system.
Wow.
I want RLMO2. Bang, hit the button. I want 3 millilitres of it.
Yeah.
Bang, knocks out 3 millilitres.
Oh, the modelling world is progressing forward.
It
It's
is.
awesome news.
Yep.
Can't wait to see. Well, I mean, look at how 3D printers are moving forward now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have them in your own home now, and some of the stuff that some guys are knocking out is just amazing.
I know. I bought those little K guns.
Yes, you
in
did,
the
yeah.
350 scale.
Yeah.
They're amazing detail for something so tiny.
Well, you heard it first here on the bench from Ian about your own paint shop in your home. So stay tuned, and
Yes.
we'll see if we can
The
get
only
some
thing
more
I'm worried
Welcome
about-
to the world of tomorrow.
The only part I'm worried about is that you'll end up being able to get any color you want, but it'll be in paint that you don't really like.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, well, if acrylic's acrylic.
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't like Vallejo very much.
Don't you?
Nah, it's a pain in the ass to clean out of my airbrush compared to acrylic lacquers, and then even beyond that, lacquers.
Well, to tell you how much paint is just paint in my view, and yes, I'll agree with you. I mean, if you got paint sitting on your stash for a while, it can sort of go off, and it's hard to sort of recover. But for Australian Navy ships, they've got this particular sort of grey colour, and I can't remember the FS number. So I just get the FS number and I rock down to Bunnings, which is a big hardware sort of chain here in Australia. and said, "There's me code, and I want it in a sample pot, which is about, I think, 200 mil, 300 mil,
250 probably.
250 mil, $10.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Just add water, and each time you add water, you can just thin it down as much as you want, and it just sprays beautifully. And just tap water. How good's that? Straight from Bunnings.
It's convenient, especially when you're in a tight corner. But if I could get it somewhere else, I'd probably would.
Yeah.
No, it worked well. It sprayed beautifully, and it just looks awesome. So
The
So
other
you're spraying a model in house paint.
yeah, and it worked really well. It did. It worked fantastic.
As long as you don't use fence paint.
the thing
A
is
bit of mission brown.
the thing is right. What would be worried about is if one place that mixes that up has a different formulation to the other place, right? And you go to spray it, thin it the same way, spray it the same way, and it doesn't come out the same. You have more troubles or something. The good thing about modeling specific products is that they're completely consistent.
Oh, but even then, sometimes there's consistency issues between batches.
Correct. Yep, there is.
Oh, maybe if you're Alclad.
Oh, no. I
With
think
their 50%, their black gloss base has a 50% will never dry chance.
I think I remember WEM having an issue with some of their product line, one of their runs or something many years ago.
Did they?
Yeah. So it can happen to any manufacturer.
Yep.
It hasn't happened to Guns yet, as far as I know.
Well, I've been lucky with all my Alclad. I don't have used any Alclad that hasn't dried yet.
I haven't.
Well, it's not so much the actual metals; it's the black base,
Right.
because that's an enamel.
The funniest story I know about Alclad is a guy I know. He was doing one of those rare SR71s.
Yep.
And he's done all that in the Alclad. And he took it to a club meeting in summer and left it in his car in the sun.
Oh, no.
And when he came back, the whole thing had just cracked. It was just cracks all through the whole paint. And it's like, wow.
Ah, dear. Well, on that note, I think we might move on because we've got a special guest later on in the show, Hamish, who's going to be talking about building civil airliners.
Yep.
Which I know nothing about, so I'm going to be educated today.
Yes, as we all will.
Which will be good. And before we get to Hamish, I think we'll have a look at what's new. So we'll be back very shortly. And we're back with what's new. And first of all, let's look at what Revell is pumping out for April. They've got 4 kits they've announced. The first one is an M109, which is a US Army self-propelled howitzer. This is being done in 1/72nd scale. 106 parts and length
160?
is... 106. Oh, hang on. Glasses?
Put your glasses on,
160.
Dave.
Thanks, Ian. 160 parts and length is 91 millimetres.
It's a lot of pieces.
Yeah, it is.
Something so small.
Absolutely. I wonder if they do rubber tracks. I just can't tell from the pictures. It looks like rubber tracks. Although it's got a bit of a droop in them, so perhaps not.
It might be Lincoln length.
Yeah, maybe. But in 1/72nd scale?
Injection moulded tracks with individual parts.
It is
There you go.
injection moulded tracks. In 1/72nd scale. That's amazing. Well, that's awesome. So the kit you can build will represent the 1st Battalion, 84th Field Artillery Regiment that served in Vietnam in 68, or you can build the version from the 2nd Battalion, 22nd Field Artillery Regiment, 1st Armoured Division, around 1971. Next, in 1/144th scale, they are pumping out a Flower Class Corvette HMS Buttercup in 1/144th scale.
Yeah, you got to hand it to the old Flower Class Corvettes. They never came up with much manly names, did they?
They didn't. This kit will build into about 478 millimetres in length, and there's 492 parts in the kit itself. Doesn't look like it comes in the photo etch, but this particular Corvette was actually designed to do some acoustic and magnetic mine clearance. So it's got a prominent sort of gizmo coming off the front bow there, which will make a bit of a interesting kit. 1/144th. I'm just sort of thinking what other ships sort of get built in that scale.
You get a few submarines in that scale.
Yeah, you get a lot of aircraft these days in that
Yes,
scale.
true.
So, yeah, it's interesting to see whether that sort of scale takes off for ships. Moving on, they're doing the Tirpitz Platinum Edition. Now, this is a rebox of one they've already done before.
Yep.
So, being a Platinum Edition, I'm guessing it's going to have quite a few things like photo etch, etc. attached. As I said, 1/35th scale.
350.
1/350 scale.
We'll keep an eye on you, Dave.
Oh, you do. Length is 717 millimeters, and parts count is 2,190.
That's a lot of bits.
It is. So this special edition comes with metal gun barrels, anchor chain, many photo etch parts, adhesive wooden deck, and in addition, there's two Arado 196 seaplanes. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that comes out. There's a lot of brass in that, so...
Yeah, it looks like they've got brass masts.
Yeah, it does, actually.
And got 3 nice photo etch frets.
And gun barrels.
Gun barrels as well.
Yeah, should build up to be a nice kit.
Should build
Looking quite nice, actually.
Yeah, from what we can see from some pictures. Lastly, from Revell, we have the Millennium Falcon in 1/72nd scale. I got that right.
Yep, you did. Well done, Dave.
Length 375 millimeters. Parts count 52. Not a lot of parts in that. I wonder if Seth is going to buy one of these, or if he's already bought one already.
I think he's already got like at least one Millennium Falcon in the works that he hasn't finished.
Yeah, so this is the old style, the later style Millennium Falcon, not the new style. This is the one with the mandibles exposed. For those of you in the Star Wars world who sort of understand that sort of thing. Yeah.
It comes with a little hand.
It comes with a little hand and also a Chewy, I think, as well. And I'm quite sure it'd be quite easy to retrofit it so you can punch some LEDs and the like into it. Oh, one more thing from Revell. They also announced the release of a Focke-Wulf FW190, the F8, in 1/72nd scale. Parts 46, wingspan about 145 millimeters, length 123. And I suspect this might be a rebox, Ian. What do you think?
Not sure, mate.
You're a bit of a fan on the Butcher Birds?
I like the Butcher Birds, yes.
All right, that does it for Revell. And from Italeri for this month, they got an announcement of 4 kits. One which I'm really interested to have a look at and talk about, actually. So the first one, though, is the Alfa Romeo 179-179C, which is their Formula 2 or Formula 1 car? Formula 1, 1979 to 1982. So I know there's quite a few car builders out there. I think Hamish is one too. He likes
his racing
cars. So that'll be of interest to you. In addition to that, also from Italeri, we have the... I've got to try and find it now. Excuse me while I just scroll down to it. In 1/72nd scale, the Canadair CL415 water bomber, which is a beautiful aircraft.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the aircraft that is actually a float plane, and it's used for firefighting. It's used in Canada. I think the Spanish also use them. They've got about 8 or so in a squadron over there. It's used all around the world, and it's just a gorgeous aircraft. Comes in painted up in a lovely yellow and almost a bright reddish, and it's nice to see something that's not military for a change.
Yeah,
in the aircraft world. Comes with a lovely decal sheet, which looks like you can do it for the Italian Air Force as well as that looks like Spanish to me. Spanish as well. So I'd be quite keen to see one of them built actually. So we'll have to wait and see and keep my eye open online. Next up, we've got a truck, Scania R730 Streamline Highline Cab, 1/24th scale. That's going to make a huge kit. Although trucks normally come about that scale anyway. But what really stands out about this is the decals. They're absolutely brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very
It's got
detailed.
like a
Big griffin.
A griffin. And in 1/24 scale, that'd really sort of jump out,
That'd
wouldn't
really
it?
pop, yeah.
Oh, that'd be gorgeous. Next up from Italeri, we have, and this is one that has really got me interested. It's in 1/72 scale, and it's the Joint Strike Fighter program, the X-32A and the X-35B in the same kit, so you get 2 aircraft.
Oh.
So during the 90s is when the US Department of Defense launched the Joint Strike Fighter contest. And the X-32A, which is a really ugly aircraft.
Yeah, it is.
That was the one that Boeing produced to go in contest against the X-35. So to be able to have 2 kits like this, and I can't think of a mainstream manufacturer that's built a prototype like this before and had it out.
I can't remember either.
So they both come in the same kit, and I'm just really hanging out to have a look at this in real life to see what it looks like and how it builds up. And hopefully there should be some reviews online in the near future so I can report back to you on that. I think last but not least from Italeri, we've got the Leopard 2A4 in 1/35 scale. I've always been a big fan of the Leopards. I reckon they look really cool.
Yeah.
The only problem with this kit is that the tracks are rubber, and you'll be racing off to get an aftermarket set for sure.
It also looks like it's in black plastic.
Which is strange. 1/35 scale, why would you put out rubber tracks with it? Unless you're trying to keep costs down. I don't know.
Oh, well, you can't actually see the return. So you can't see the upper portion of the tracks because of the skirts, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a pain to paint, and they're just, I don't know.
They're not too bad as long as they're not vinyl. If they can glue with the regular like Tamiya extra thin type stuff, they're fine.
Well,
I just don't want to have to staple them.
Well, hey, listen, I'm an expert now. I've built one tank,
yeah,
so when it comes to tracks, I'm an expert.
Yeah, good on you.
This will make up a nice kit, so you can do it in the version of the Turkish Army 2nd Cav Armoured Brigade, which was posted to the Turkish-Syrian border 2016, quite topical.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can do the Bundeswehr 361st Panzer Battalion 1988 scheme, Swiss Army version for 2006 scheme. It's that sort of NATO sort of pattern.
Yeah, typical NATO. Yeah.
The one the scheme that really grabs my eye though is I think that's Spanish, the Ectogeria. I'm gonna butcher this. The Ectoterio di Tierra Brigada.
Might be Italian. Is it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure whether the Italians will use them or not. Well, no, it's definitely Spanish. You can see the flag there. It's sort of got a what do you call that? What's that paint call out there, Ian, for that?
What?
So the base colour there.
Olive drab, isn't it?
That's olive drab, and that one there
Brown,
is like
red brown.
looks like a pink almost in this
It's a
light,
red brown.
and a nice grey. Just
Flat black.
There are some countries in Europe that have like a variation of NATO, the classic NATO tricolour scheme.
yeah.
Like I know the French actually have a much different brown in their NATO brown. It's much more yellow.
But this Spanish tank, just the colours, this looks just really striking.
Yeah, it's good to see something different.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it from Italeri. Now we have from and that's what we're talking about. We're talking earlier on about some tools. So
That's the ones, yes.
they're called, and I can't pronounce this.
Despair.
Despair
Yeah. DSPIAE.
craft tools.
Yep.
So there's a stepless adjuster circular cutter. There's a single blade nipper.
Which is absolutely brilliant. I've tested on one of them.
And you reckon it's exactly the same as the...
Well, from what I've been told, it's the Beng one's just Reeboks.
okay.
And it's a marvellous set of sprue cutters.
Yeah. So I definitely have to get my hand on one of them and or the circle cutter as well, I think. It's always something you want in your...
Well, especially since I've now got 2 Japanese kits. potentially more to come. So,
Paint your own Hinamaroos.
Okay.
yeah, well, I don't really want to have to deal with Hasegawa decals if I can help it.
Monday, the 9th of April, Bandai announced the release of their 1/144th scale Millennium Falcon. This is the early version, the Lando version, in which the mandibles are actually not exposed. So,
This is one from the new Solo movie.
yeah, so this is due for release in June 2018. Says it's got 2 display bases and laser effect parts ×2. So, not quite sure what that's all about. I guess
Lighting kit.
Yeah, but then it would have actually had the lighting kit, I guess, if the... in 1/144th scale, it's going to be hard to put a lighting kit in that.
I'm not too sure. I think these things are a lot bigger than a lot of people give them credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see lights in there.
That looks like a... the rear engine sort of area of the Millennium Falcon. It looks like they've sort of used a clear sort of plastic that's coloured.
I believe Bandai actually sell the actual like a pre-done kit, like lighting kit for these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it literally just drops straight in.
Well, as when Seth was on talking about Star Wars stuff, he was singing the praises of Bandai, and in fact, he says they just go together so well. So I'd be really keen to see what this one looks like when it's built. So that's it from Bandai. Meng have got their new 135th. I'm a bit tongue-tied. Their PLA main battle tank, which is the ZTZ96B, is out from Meng, and the boxing looks absolutely superb, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On the front, it's got this sort of big Chinese sort of
Propaganda.
oh well, propaganda or truth depends which side of the fence you're on.
One of the good things I like about Meng is their boxing. They got that sort of kind of what do you call it, satin finish to the box.
I tell you what, if you're walking up and down the aisles of a hobby store, that boxing colouring would really stand out.
Oh,
wouldn't
you
it?
jump right out at you.
Attract your eye straight away. So
I actually quite like the look of the tank. Actually, if anyone who paid attention to the Tank Olympics that they held, I think it was last year, that tank that competed in it, it lost the wheel.
oh, did it really?
Yeah,
Lost the wheel. It just fell off. Huh?
yeah, kind of. I think it broke off during like heavy braking or something like that. People were giving it a lot of crap,
Getting stuck right in.
Made in China, but it does look attractive.
And last but not least, Bronco Models have announced the release of a new 135th scale kit of the German tactical assault glider, the DFS 230B1, which should be on shelves in April, according to what we're reading here.
Including 4 Fallschirmjäger.
Yeah. I don't know if there's too many kits of these around.
It'd be a large model.
It would be in 135th scale, we said.
Oh, just look at the wingspan.
Wow, that's going to be huge.
Very big. Oh, it looks actually like a nice kit.
It does look like a nice kit. So, it'd be interesting to see that built up. And the inside interior detail looks exceptionally good. So you could do it... it leaves a lot to sort of go ahead and sort of be displayed sort of open or crashed or something like that with all the internals. You can have a lot of fun with that kit, I think.
Definitely.
All right, well, that's it from me for What's New. Ian, you got anything?
No.
And what about you, Julian?
No, not really.
Okay.
Nothing new, mate.
Well, in that case, I think we might go ahead and get our guest on to have a talk about building airliners.
Yeah.
Back shortly. And welcome back. And joining us in the studio via phone, we've got Hamish. Good evening, Hamish. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, David. And you? How is everyone?
Oh, we're all fine, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, good.
So we've got you on the show, Hamish, so you can have a chat about building airliners, because you're about the only guy who I know does it, and you do it prolifically.
Yes, and a great job too.
Absolutely. So we thought we might get you on a talk about how you go about building them, talk about the different types of kits and manufacturers, and the best way to go about actually painting them. So let's start with the kits, Hamish. Which manufacturers do the airliners mainly?
Well, you can get Revell
Yep.
and Hobbycraft. They're the main ones that I've used. Hasegawa also do them, but in a different scale. The sort of typical scale for the civil airliners is 1/144th. But Hasegawa also do 1/200th kits, and there are some 1/100th civil airliner kits around as well. But the ones I've primarily used are the Revell and the Hobbycraft kits. And then you get some more, how could you say, specialist manufacturers. There's a company, Daco, out of Belgium, that specialise in very good quality kits and decals. But primarily I've built Revell kits and some Zvezda kits as well. They're pretty good quality, especially their more recent kits.
The Zvezda kits.
Yeah, from Russia. Their later kits in the last couple of years, the quality is quite good, and they're a little bit unique in that people like Hobbycraft and Revell don't supply the, you could say, window inserts, the clear plastic window inserts, whereas in the Zvezda kits they do have those, which makes things a little easier. Normally what I do with the Revell kits, where they just have holes for the windows, I actually fill them with kit putty, because it stops the window decals sagging inwards. So that's one of the things that I do, and it's pretty simple. You just put a bit of masking tape along the outside of the fuselage, and then you just fill the holes with the putty from the inside, and it saves a lot of time with sanding, etc., that type of thing. Which, it's quicker, easier, and also helps keep the outside of the kit clean, which is one of the major things that I've found you need to be quite particular with, is, once you've done all the sanding for the seams and that type of thing, you really need to get the kit quite clean before you paint it.
So what's your favourite? What's your favourite scale in airline models? Is it 1/144th?
Yeah, 1/144th. The main reason is there's a wider range available, and there are lots of different decal manufacturers that offer quite a wide range. So you just get a greater selection of subjects to build pretty well.
So with the painting of the model, I mean, most of them are white, and I think white would have to be everybody's just about favourite sort of shade to paint. So have you got a specific sort of paint that you prefer to use just to do the white first, or?
Well, I normally use Guns acrylics. Me personally, I've had better results using the Guns acrylic paint. I've tried Tamiya acrylics. Myself personally, I'm not that keen on enamels, purely and simply because of a little bit messier and harder to clean your airbrush and things like that. And so, I use Guns acrylics to paint with. And, as you say, white is the most common colour for the fuselage. Yeah, and the wings is just usually a light grey colour. A good match for Boeing and Airbus wing colours is actually light gold grey, which is the FS 16440 colour. If you're into the particular colours, that type of thing. And then, yeah, you need a slightly darker blue grey for the corrugard, which is what people commonly refer to as the wing walks
Yep.
on the wing. But yeah, it's just the corrosion resistant paint that they put on the real aircraft for where people walk on the wings, that sort of thing. So yeah, from a paint perspective, yeah, myself, I just prefer guns, and I just use Future as the top gloss coat, and I actually hand paint it, believe it or not, rather than
Okay.
spray it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It flattens out really quickly, that stuff.
Yeah. I've always
Yeah.
sprayed. I've never done a brush paint.
Mm.
I've never brush painted Future before, so it's interesting.
Yeah, because it's actually an acrylic polish, so it actually I don't know if you know with acrylic paint, but it settles as it's first drying. Like quite often it might look when you spray it, for example, with normal acrylic paint, especially with the gloss, when you first spray it, it may not seem to have a very good gloss to it, but then after about 5 to 10 minutes after it's initially been painted, it comes up with a quite a nice gloss finish. And of course, with real civil aircraft, they're always kept clean because one, it makes them more aerodynamic, and also, believe it or not, keeps the weight down. So it improves the fuel efficiency. So yeah, the glossier the better.
But before they go in for a cleaning, there is a bit of dirt and grime on, especially around the underneath. So you have to do the W word, weather it, would you not?
Well, again, it depends on whether you're modelling at the start of a long haul flight or at the end of a long haul flight.
Very true.
And before the aircraft is turned around, for the next flight, etc. But they are cleaned quite regularly to reduce the weight. Believe it or not, it actually reduces the weight on the aircraft.
It does. Now, with if you're building in 1/144 scale, do you bother highlighting the panel lines, or you just don't bother at all?
No, I don't highlight the panel lines at all, because if you actually look at the aircraft in real life, you just very rarely see panel lines apart from around where the wheel bay doors are, that type of thing. Because again, they're quite flush and sleek, again, for all the aerodynamic performance. So no, I don't highlight. Some kits actually come with decals for, like the Revell A380 that I'm building at the moment has decals that go around the line of the wings where it joins on the fuselage, because there are actually seals there. But no, not normally, because just again, it's my personal preference to portray the aircraft clean and shiny, all that sort of thing. So that's just my personal preference.
Now, Ian and I have had an ongoing sort of argument about whether you actually do a base coat first or a like get
the primer.
the primer coat first and then paint on top. Do you do that with yours, or do you just go straight ahead and put the paint on?
No, I always primer coat, because what I've found is quite often along the seam lines and things like that, you can actually get a bit of a mark where you've sanded over the seam line, especially on the fuselage, that type of thing. So yeah, once I've sanded over the join lines, etc., got them flush, yeah, I'll wash the kit to make sure all the sanding, grit's gone, all that type of thing, and then yes, I do primer coat, and I use the Tamiya Fine White primer.
And to me, it has a beautiful range of primers. I absolutely love them. I use them all the time. Ian's sitting
Yes.
across the other side of the studio looking dagger eyes at me at the moment.
No. That's just my personal preference. I hate undercoat.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I'll once the primer's on and dried, yeah, then it's on with the gloss, and it's the same as I use the same technique as when I'm painting the cars. I'll do several mist coats rather than one thick, heavy coat. And again, I paint cross in a crossway pattern. So, like when you're doing the wings, for example, I'll do the first base coat um, from the fuselage to the wingtip, typically in one long stroke. And then I'll go over the top of that chordwise, which is from the front of the wing to the rear of the wing.
Yep.
And then that way you get an evenness and consistency of colour, I've found.
With especially, I would say, doing airline models, getting rid of the seam is absolutely critical, and having that hidden, because it would just show up. It would just stand right out, wouldn't it? So,
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Got any tips as to how you achieve your high finish on your aircraft along the seam lines?
Yeah, one thing I purchased a book by Brett Green about building civil airliners, and one big thing I got from that book was the technique he describes for sanding on the seam lines, so that you don't flatten the fuselage as such, where you do the sanding, and that's to basically, when you're sanding, instead of just pushing it side to side straight, is to actually rock your hand. So it's almost like you're turning it sort of in a circular fashion, so that you're rocking around the circumference of the fuselage rather than just straight along the top. And I did notice in my earlier kits that I'd built, where yes, I had flattened out the top and the bottom of the fuselage, etc. So yeah, that's just the main trick I learnt, and I use 3 different grits of sandpaper for that, so that use a rough grit to do the main first cut sanding, which flattens everything out nicely, and then gradually just using a couple of finer grits to round it off nicely, but also to remove the earlier rough sanding marks. And yeah, that's all the only trick really for that. And of course, just going along all joins, even up the tails and along the wing edges, like you do with a normal aircraft kit when you join the 2 wing halves together, just to make sure that there's the seams are nice and smooth, and also that, especially on the rear of the wing, that the trailing edge is nice and sleek and not square. Because if you've ever looked that closely on a civil aircraft, the trailing edge of the wing isn't actually, it's not that thick. So again, I just pay attention to that.
Now, with the sanding, do you prefer to use wet or dry sanding method, Hamish?
Dry sand.
Yep.
I use I think, what is it, the rough grit I use is about a 400 grit for the main sanding, and then I'll just go to normal sort of emery paper.
Yep.
And then I have some they're like polishing pads that I got from Expo a few years ago. I don't know if you know, there's a lady that goes to the expo in Melbourne that
Yeah.
sells all
Yep.
the
All the hobby tools.
hand tools and
Yep.
the embroidery and sewing stuff. And she also has polishing pads or you can use, the nail polishing sticks.
That's
Yes.
exactly what I use. I go down the supermarket and I get strange looks as I sort of haunt the aisle with all the cosmetics and everything in it. I get some very odd looks, especially when I'm loading my basket up with all these different sort of nail files and sticks and et cetera, et cetera. But I find them a nice cheap alternative. They work just as well. And the alternative you described, where you sort of roll your hand, that's exactly the same technique I use when I'm doing my submarines, and you get a fantastic finish doing that.
Yeah, that you do.
Yeah.
But I've never actually done wet sanding ever.
I always wet sand.
Do you always wet sand?
Always wet sand.
Yeah, I never do.
Never.
Always. Yep.
I
don't know why. It's just the habit I've picked up when I was younger, and just keep wet sanding.
Yeah, I don't even like going swimming, so putting water on my hands is unpleasant.
You don't like bathing.
What do you mean? I'm very clean, have you know?
I'd be really interested to do a comparison to see if you get any better improvement or any faster sanding by doing it when it's wet rather than when it's dry.
Well, I find with wet sanding is you don't clog up your sandpaper or your sanding sticks as quick.
Yeah, that'll make sense.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I haven't tried it. It wasn't for me. Couldn't be bothered.
Too messy.
Yeah, it is messy.
Well, that's the other part to it as well.
Yes.
So, Hamish, do you have to be concerned about making sure you put some weights in the front of the kits?
Sorry, putting what on it?
Nose weights in it, so you
Oh,
get tail
yes.
sitters.
Yes, definitely. Sorry, I thought you said wax.
No.
No, weights. Yeah, I use the little. They're roughly about 2 grams a piece. Little round, fishing sinkers.
Yep.
Because most manufacturers specify a weight. That's actually one thing I've noticed with Revell. They're a little inconsistent where some of their kits they don't list a weight to put in the nose, and then in some they do. But yes, definitely. If it's a modern aircraft where they've got the front wheels in the nose, that sort of thing, you definitely do need to put weights in. So I just glue them in with super glue before I join the 2 fuselage halves together. And get it as far forward in the fuselage as you can.
Yep.
There's plenty of room in there, isn't there? I mean, they've got a very long from the wings forward space, so you should never run out of room for weights, right?
Oh no, definitely not. Because most of the larger civil airliners, they're just empty inside. There's no interior detail at all, and you might just have a little cockpit insert. And again, for me, I don't even put those in because most of the decal sheets that I use, they come with decals for the windscreens, etc. Just plenty of room, and just get it as far forward as you can in the fuselage.
Do you do any additional detailing of your kits, like the undercarriage with brake lines, that type of stuff, or you just don't see it at that scale level?
In the 1/144th, you just would not see it. Unless you're, building for a competition or something like that, no. And because the hydraulic lines are actually quite small on the real aircraft, you'd really struggle to get them, detailed in that scale.
Right scale, yeah.
Yeah. Without making them looking chunky or anything like that. Unless you're really building for a competition and you want to score some extra points, that sort of thing for the detail, you wouldn't see it.
What about mounting on in flight? Do you do that much?
Sorry, mounting on what?
When you mount the plane in flight with the landing gear up on a stick, so to speak?
I I've done that with smaller aircraft, like I've done like a tornado in 1/144th, for example, and just put it on a stand with a stick with, and as though it was flying through the clouds with cotton wool and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But no, I just build all my aircraft standing on the undercarriage.
Okay. No.
Again, it's just a personal preference thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just would have thought that I think the on a stick method, you see it a little bit more with the civilian aircraft, the airliners and stuff. When you see them around, at model shows and stuff, they like to put them on sticks quite a bit more often.
Yeah, no, it's just my personal preference to have them on their undercarriage.
The thing that really I can see where the appeal is the different liveries that the aircraft come in. And I mean, there's some fantastic liveries out there. I know that JAL, Japanese Airlines, and Nippon Air, they do some... Is it Nippon Air that did the one with the R2-D2 scheme on the aircraft? And there's been some Hello Kitty designs I've seen on civil aircraft, and
Iron Maiden.
I was about to say Iron Maiden,
yeah. You can get that as a standard Revell kit now,
right,
but
yep.
yes, I've done some weird and wonderful ones. Like there's it's a Western Pacific Airlines aircraft from the United States where it's got the Simpsons, the Simpsons cartoon characters on either side of the fuselage. There's another one where I've done, it was South American airline, I think it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it's got a crocodile.
I remember seeing that. That was a pretty amazing looking kit.
Yeah, down either side of the fuselage. And then there's others like Frontier Airlines from the US where they have different animals on the tail of the aircraft, like wolves and dolphins and penguins and all sorts of things. And yes, you can get some really, really weird and wonderful and, quite unique liveries for the aircraft, definitely.
And it looks colourful in displays against the normal sort of drab grey, or if you build modern aircraft or ships like I do.
Well, yeah, because I like my kits to be bright and colourful and shiny. This sort of, just what I like. So it appeals to me in particular.
So with the, I'm guessing they're very large decal sheets then that you got to lay onto the kit itself. Do you want to sort of talk us through how you go doing a complicated one like that on an aircraft?
The trickiest thing I find is to look at the decal sheet and how the decals would actually fit on the aircraft, because in some instances you need to put decals on the fuselage, for example, before you put the tail planes on, if you were to build it the way the manufacturer says to build it. For example, the A380 that I'm building at the moment has decals because the stabilizers on the rear of the aircraft, they don't have flaps that drop, but the whole rear stabilizer moves, and they have rub plates, they call rub plates on the fuselage, which are represented by decals. And most of the manufacturers, they'll have you put the decals on before you put the stabilizers on, which can be a bit of an issue if the fit of the kit isn't that great. So you have to test fit first and that type of thing. And there have been some kits where I've sliced the decals in half before I've and put them on after painting, that type of thing. But that crocodile one that we referred to just a minute ago, the the decals were shaped to fit around the wing by the actual decal manufacturer. So it was actually quite simple to do that. But yeah, some of them, the decal sheets can be fairly large, lots of decals on them. I've had some manufacturers, they have the decals for the windows as one continuous long line. But what I normally do is cut them up into sections, because quite often there are, the windows aren't consistent all the way along the fuselage with the larger aircraft, like an A380, for example, where there's internal bulkheads and things like that. So I just cut those sort of decals up into sections, that type of thing. And the only other thing to be aware of really with decals, with some of the manufacturers, in particular, there's a company in the United States, Draw Decals. A lot of their decals are Alps type decals, where the decal sheet itself is just one big piece of carrier film, and you have to cut the individual decals out.
Ouch.
So just that's some aftermarket decals are like that, and there seems to be a few of them for aftermarket civil aircraft that are like that. S26 decals from the UK are like that as well too.
Do you use actually any sort of solution to settle the decals down, or do you sort of steer away from that and just use a sort of tried and true method of water and sort of getting the bubbles out that way?
Well, again, it's dependent on the type of decals and where the decal is on the aircraft. For example, the decals on the rear tail, they're pretty easy because it's flat and there's not very much of a curve. But there are others where, if the decal wraps around the fuselage, and depending on the type of decal, like for instance, Draw decals from the US, which are the Alps type decals, the ink itself of the decal, it's not very flexible, and the common decal softeners like the Guns Mr. Softener or Microsol and Microset, they won't really touch them.
Right.
So what I use and this is something that I've learned from my car kit building, is to use a hairdryer, believe it or not.
Heat them up.
And just gently heat them, or a combination of both decal softener and the hairdryer, which is quite handy, especially if you've got to get around, where several curves come together and one might be concave and the other might be convex and that sort of thing. Using with the normal, water slide decals, I use the Guns decal softener.
Rather than using a hairdryer, would it not achieve the same results, sort of having it in hot water, the decal?
Draw decals do list that you use a cloth with hot water on it. I've tried that, and what I've found is that to get it to the right sort of temperature where it'll soften the decal, it's quite hard to hold the cloth itself. So I've found that with a hairdryer on a low fan speed and a low temperature, you can get the decals to conform to the curved surface.
Wow.
And it keeps to a consistent heat.
Yeah, see, I would have been scared of drying out the decal by doing that.
What I've found is if the hairdryer is too hot to put your finger in front of for, a few seconds, that yes, you will get that sort of thing where it will dry the decal out. So yeah, it's a trial, by trial and error sort of situation where,
Yeah.
you know, do you have what speed do you have the fan on and what temperature and all that type of thing.
So buy an old kit and practice on that first.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. What I've found is if you've got a dryer with say maybe 2 or 3 fan speeds on the slowest fan speed and on the coolest heat setting, and it's usually pretty good.
Cool.
And the trick is not to get the hairdryer too close to the kit itself. Again, if it's too hot for you to have your finger, close to where the decal is, and you're holding the kit, and you find that it's too hot, well then you've got the hairdryer too close and set too high heat-wise.
Yep.
Well, we're hard up against the clock here, Hamish, but before we let you go, we ask this of all our guests, and of course the name of the show is On the Bench, so the question to you is, what's currently on your bench?
Currently on my bench is a Revell that I'm building of aircraft. Is the C-17 Globemaster that I'm building for display at Expo.
Oh, very nice. 1/144th scale?
Yeah, it's the Qatar Emiri flight version where it's in the Qatar Airways livery.
Yep.
And I'm just putting the final touches to that with the wing walk decals. And also the Emirates A380, which again is for display at Expo. Tonight I've just painted the corrugate on the wings actually. I'll start decaling that in a couple of days once everything's dried nicely.
Cool.
Lovely. Hamish, thanks very much. We're going to have to get you back on at some stage to get you to talk about your car kits because we haven't really sort of touched that subject yet. So we'll definitely get you back for that. Thanks very much for being on the show tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Hamish.
Not a problem, guys, and I'll see you in a month or two at Expo.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, mate. Catch you then. Bye.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Well, that was an interesting conversation with Hamish.
Yeah, that it was.
I certainly learned a few things.
He does a nice job on those airliners.
Yeah, the C-17 that he's building sounds interesting in the Qatar Airlines livery. I could almost be tempted on that. In 1/144th scale, I reckon I could knock that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
No. I've got too much on. I'm moving soon and all the rest of it. Well, that really brings us towards the end of the show. But before we wrap up, I've recently been in touch with somebody. We're looking at expanding the show and getting a foreign correspondent on. The tyranny of distance affects this podcast in which we're sort of stuck this side of the world, the better side. That's having a joke there, listeners. But we're looking at getting a correspondent to sort of look after Europe for us, and they'll be able to report in and do some interviews over that side of the world, and then we'll incorporate them in this podcast. So more news about that in the future. That's a couple of months away yet. What I would like to do is say thanks to our listeners who've actually been dropping some ratings on the show.
Yep.
We've been getting some fantastic feedback, and it really encourages us to keep doing what we're doing.
Yes.
And I think we're on the right track, so we're certainly getting a lot of downcasts.
We'll get there eventually.
We're certainly getting a lot of downloads at the moment, so look, I think we are on the right track. As it stands, we're the world's best podcast on scale model kits. That's because we're the only one on scale model kits, but you know what?
We'll take those laurels.
We'll take those laurels, absolutely. And so please, if you're downloading to a podcast app, just take the time out to drop past and rate us by you rating the show on the various apps that you use. It just helps those other people actually find our podcast. Also, we've been getting quite a bit of feedback the last fortnight on our Facebook page. Right. So just do a search for, on the bench at Facebook, and you'll find us. And we certainly appreciate those private messages we've been getting. We're really open to doing segments on what you guys want us to do. So if you've got some ideas or questions, just send them in, and we'll try to accommodate as best as we can.
Yes.
And of course, you can get in touch with us via our email, which is onthebench64@gmail.com. And again, we love hearing from you guys out there. So that's it for this fortnight. Ian, any parting words?
Just have fun with your hobby, guys.
And Julian?
Oh, not really. Just go build your models. Get on it.
All right, guys.
Just do it.
I'll catch you in a fortnight. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.